Hey there, happy day 989 of What's She Up To Now. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting my journey as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate world of business to the online world of business. Day 989, so obviously we've been doing this for a little while now. So quickly, briefly, what I'm working on right now primarily is what's called the Get Up and Go Challenge. Since COVID hit in the spring, end of March and early April, we had our first entire month shut down where I live. I knew I needed to do something to keep going. I was hanging out with my granddaughter during the day while her mom worked, and then taking care of her for her folks. And so that took the better portion of my day. But I still wanted to keep going and making sure that I was keeping my businesses and my goals and my objectives alive. So I started doing a Get Up and Go challenge. I think the first challenge was a live challenge on how to do challenges, and that was probably a 10-day one. I already had that planned for the end of March when COVID hit. So we knew we were going to be locked down. I did the 10-day one, and then I'm like, that's not enough. I need more. We need to do more. I need to do something more to keep myself going and moving, and I think other people do as well. And when our governor announced that we were going to be shut down for the entire month of April, I decided I was going to do a 30-day challenge. And so I started the 30-day Get Up and Go challenge on April 1st. And the whole month of April, we went through a challenge of how do we know what to do now? What do we do when we're faced with changes and challenges? How do we know what's best for us? We can make sure we're going to be better off after any change or challenge we face than before we actually experience that. So that was the first one. And then I was challenged by a group of entrepreneurs to do a 40-day challenge. So the month of June and the beginning of July, I did a 40-day Get Up and Go challenge. I just kept it the same name. And then in August, I did it again. Every time it's been different and tweaked it. And then I committed in September because it keeps me going, especially now that my granddaughter's gone back to school. I committed that I would do one in the month of October. Now, I actually took Sunday off, the 11th day off, and we made a catch-up day, which I think was a perfect timing. I haven't done any catch-up days in my previous challenges, and I think that's important because I don't know, I like to do things every day, but I don't think everyone is the same as me and that they want to go at that same pace. Sometimes we need a day off, a catch-up day. Now I try to keep the daily challenges in bite-sized pieces so that it's not like there's 20 things to catch up on. There's usually one action item for every day. This is the activity. And in this challenge, I'm adding a tool. I'm sharing some of my favorite tools that I use all the time. Today's was brainstorming. I use brainstorming almost every day of my life. And so I want to make sure that people that don't have that in their toolbox can get it in their toolbox, and they have different things that they can call upon whenever they're faced with a situation, a dilemma, a challenge, an experience, a change, whatever. So today we talked about the Owen soap, created then. By the time I got to, I think, the second or third round of the Get Up and Go challenge, I got the idea of this SOAP framework, because we all have frameworks. Frameworks are just the way we do things, right? It's like a process or a system. It's the way we do things. And we all have the way we do things, but excuse me, it's not necessarily going to achieve the best outcome for us. So as I started thinking about, well, how I faced, a lot of challenges that most people have never faced and never overcome. So to me, COVID has not been this huge, overwhelming, I can't figure it out challenge. It was just like, hey, it's a Tuesday. What are we going to do today? Because I've had other challenges that have had me having to deal with situations that are just as bad as what most people are experiencing right now, if not worse in some aspects. So I thought, well, how have I dealt with this? How have I really done it? And I thought, well, how can I teach this framework to other people so that they can have it as a tool that they can use as well? And the best part is you can install it in your subconscious so that it'll kick in no matter what. And it's interesting because today's idiom for supersize your business was asleep at the switch. And asleep at the switch reminds me of when you're doing something and you go through autopilot. Now, asleep at the switch means you don't successfully perform your job. But think of all the times we've driven to work or driven someplace that we go repeatedly and we don't even remember the drive. We remember leaving our house. We remember arriving at work safely, but we have no actual recollection of sometimes the 45 to 60-minute drive that we just made. Now, we obviously performed it successfully because we made it to our destination safely, but we don't consciously remember any of it. That is an example of being asleep at the wheel, asleep at the switch, where we still perform successfully, even though we didn't really do it consciously. That's what we want to be able to do with a change process, a process of handling changes and challenges. We want to install that in our subconscious so that, like driving, we can perform at a subconscious level, even if we're not paying attention, and we can arrive at our destination successfully better than had we not had that framework that we were using. So I want to help people to install this SOAP framework into their subconscious, just like I have. Like every time I face a challenge or things now, I didn't used to always. I used to get super duper frustrated and upset. Now I'm using it and applying it to technical things like on the computer, figuring things out on the computer. And I'm light years better than I was 2 years ago. I used to, something would change. Facebook would change their format like they recently have. And I would be all frustrated for weeks until I figured out all the little nuances and how I had to do what I was doing on their particular framework. Now I realize that frameworks are changing all the time. And I mean, platforms are changing all the time. Facebook, LinkedIn, all the different platforms. And if I want to choose to participate on them, then I have to be willing to just go with the flow and figure out the changes as they come down the pipe, because I have no control over what Facebook is going to do with their format or their algorithms. I have no control over what LinkedIn is going to do with their format or their algorithms any more than I have control over the weather, right? My granddaughter wants to invent a weather machine. When she does, I'll have her invent a social media machine too that lets us interact any way that we want to with each particular platform, whether they want to change it or not. So asleep at the wheel. We're working on the O today for the SOAP framework, and that's all about options and possibilities, infinite possibilities. And so brainstorming is the perfect tool for that, for this first introduction to the O in SOAP. So we're brainstorming at least 10 possible ways to deal with the gap that was created in the S part of the framework, the story, our current situation, the story or the situation we're telling ourselves, and then our desired story and situation. There's a gap usually between those two, where we are to where we want to go. And then we need to start brainstorming possibilities of how we could fill in that gap. Not how we necessarily are, but all of the crazy different possible ways that we could move ourselves from where we are to where we want to go. Today we talked about, again, I said asleep at the switch, which it's really funny. The more I do these idioms, the more open-minded and creative I personally have to be, because some of them, you're like, well, how the heck does that relate to business? And I'll read them sometimes and I'll think, I don't know how I'm going to make this fit. And so far, today was day 589, and I didn't start counting right away. So I've probably done over 600 idioms already. And every single one, I don't remember when I started tying them specifically to business. The last 365 for sure. But I don't remember at what point. At first, I would just talk about the idioms. And then I wanted to do it for Supersize Your Business. So I started really tying it into business. And I might have done all 589. I'll have to go back and find the first one and see if and how I tied it to business. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of them, and there's always a way to connect pretty much anything to our businesses and our lives. So those are the things I'm working on. I finished a course yesterday on planning, momentum planning from Mental Block. I just had a total mental block against his name. I feel really bad. I can see his face. I can hear his voice, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, Alex Sharfin. Alex Sharfin's Momentum Planning and Momentum Planner. He did a whole course on a planning system for entrepreneurs, which I found really fascinating. I'm going to try it for a while because I have my own system, but I'm always looking to continually improve. So if I find something that I think might benefit or work for me, I test it out, I try it, I tweak it, I make it my own, and then I figure out, what pieces of it I can use and what pieces I don't, that don't benefit me. So I'm going to try it out, see how it works, and then decide if I want to keep doing it or not, if I want to share it with other people or not. So that is what I am working on. Otherwise, family, friends, construction, all kinds of crazy stuff going on always. That's it. If I can help you in any way, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow with another update on what I'm doing as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world. Take care.